I regretted giving birth. I want to share my regrets and admit that I regretted my decision to have a baby. I'm not looking for understanding or hope for understanding, I just want to say it out loud. As you know, you can't tell your family and friends about this. I loved kids for a while. I babysat my friend's son every chance I got. I even envied her. Then another friend had a baby, and then another and another. For some reason, everyone was bugging me with questions. When are you going to have a baby? I was in no hurry at all. I was fine without children with my husband, though. Of course, I once scrolled through pictures of babies in a large family. But I did not dare. So I continued to go out and babysit strangers. After all, when you only babysit for a couple of hours, it's not tiring and even interesting. Gradually, the eternal conversation about having children with friends began to irritate me. We would talk about diapers, rashes, colds, and my once best friends were no longer common themes, except for some memories. Often I began to think that I also wanted to be a mommy. What is so cool about being pregnant? All these feelings, and then passing on all my knowledge and skills to the baby, trying to make them better than me, dressing them beautifully, feeding them from a bottle, and taking them for walks in the park, picking leaves. I genuinely wanted to be a mom, and thought I already knew enough about motherhood and babies. I talked to my husband about it, and he agreed. It all worked out the first time. I was kinda glad. My social media page was full of new ultrasounds, stories about how I was feeling, and screenshots from pregnancy calendars. At first, I suffered from severe toxemia and constantly wanted to cry, which I did. Then, I was disgusted by the baby's movements in my stomach. I even shuddered from them and instantly changed my expression. I don't know how to explain it. I rejected with all my gut what was growing inside me. My condition was extremely unpleasant to me. It was the pregnancy that annoyed me. I did not find in it a single bit of the beautiful things that my friends had so colorfully described to me. Closer to the date of delivery, the children began to annoy me. All of them, without exception. Especially the smallest, who was bad-tempered and intrusive. It just so happened that my husband and I had to live with his parents, where his sister gave birth not so long ago. Oh my gosh, the baby would scream day and night, and everyone would indulge him with tedious whining. The grandparents just worshipped the little brat, who took advantage of it all and demanded attention all the time. When I was pregnant, I actually thought of ways to give my newborn nephew a pounding when he started yelling. But when I gave birth, it was hell. Hell for the first 2 months. I had breast problems, then I got a cold, and then my daughter got sick too, and she was always screaming. We went to neurologists with a suspicion of increased cranial pressure in the child due to constant tantrums, but no one found anything. There was no rest, day or night. My whole life changed in the blink of an eye after the baby arrived. I had no time for anything. I didn't feel like myself at all. I had a terrible postpartum depression, and I even wanted to throw the baby away. More than once, I raised my hand at him and screamed. I regretted having my own baby. My husband was angry at the new me and didn't understand why I, who wanted children so badly, was now ready to kill my own child. I called my friends who already had children, complained about my new life, and searching for an answer. What is so great about having children? They all said that they had the same thoughts and struggles during the first month, and they also questioned why they had children at all. But then, supposedly, it all went away. Months went by, and I kept pretending to be a perfect mom in front of my husband. But as soon as he left, I couldn't even stand being near the baby. My daughter would scream and throw tantrums, and I would only go over to yell at her and then go into another room to avoid hitting her. I don't know what is wrong with me. I understand that it shouldn't be like this, but I can't cope with the feeling of dislike, some kind of hatred for my daughter. I'm annoyed by her squeaking. I realize that my life will never be the same with her, that this is not what I wanted at all, that now I don't spend time with my husband, that I can't even cuddle with him because she's constantly yelling, constantly demanding something, and all the time she has off is spent on going to the bathroom and eating. And all the time she has off is spent on going to the bathroom and eating. I'm afraid to even think about going to the movies or the ice rink or something, if I ever do. God, these four walls and this constant yelling are killing me. I realize what a terrible mother I am. I feel sorry for my child because he needs to be loved and I can't. I really haven't found anything good in children, no matter how much I look for it. Nothing. Children take over your whole life, and what do you get in return? A glass of water? So I don't need it. I'm fine. I'm tired of wiping up poop, snot, and drool every day. I want my old life back, but I can't get it back. Nothing will ever be the same. And that makes me depressed. I've been losing my temper more and more lately. Not just at the baby, in general. I'm wildly tired of everything. One day my husband saw it. I saw so much in his eyes. I thought he was going to leave me. How scary it became. No, not from the fact that I am alone with the child will stay. I would have given her no hesitation in the orphanage, but from the fact that my husband, I really love and do not want to lose him. I do not know what to do. I can no longer live like this, hating the child which has so alienated me from my husband. If I could take back the time, I would never give birth. My whole life is a waste. It's such a shame. Comment, Sophia. When I read it, I couldn't help but smile. I know you're not laughing, but I just understand you very well. I myself have been on maternity leave for 1.5 years. I love my son very much. I cope with everything. But sitting in four walls, the monotony of action, a lack of communication in the past, sick of it, you feel that you no longer belong. And you will never fully belong. The thread of connection with the child will always be strained by thoughts of him. Now the teeth are teething again, and this is a nightmare period for us as my son reacts with tantrums, squealing to all irritants, and so all day long. He also has a fever. I know that it will pass, I need to be patient, but sometimes I want to yell in response to the squealing too. Then I apologize if I yell suddenly. This is not right. The baby will continue to scream, feeling your mood. Postpartum depression, I am also familiar, but I had it expressed in a constant anxiety of some kind. I could not relax that internally. By the way, my son also cried a lot in the first month, slept only in his arms during the day, at night was normal. We took him to a chiropractor, fixed his cervical trauma, vertebrae were repaired, improved circulation, plus our stomach problems, and we started sleeping better. You do not need to keep your worries inside and pretend to be a good mother in front of your husband. Share with him, it will get easier. Yes, it is difficult for a man to understand our worries, what it is when the hormonal background changes drastically, but still a man close to you. He needs to know what is going on with you in order to help you. I, for example, share with my husband, I never hide the fact that I am annoyed about something. Irritation with a child, frankly, is experienced by almost all parents at certain times in life to one degree or another. Some are annoyed by an infant squealing, some by a teenage son or daughter starting to be rude or smoke. It doesn't mean you don't love the child or that you're a bad mother. It's just your feelings, your fatigue. You're human too. You also need to rest somehow. If you can, make sure that your husband or someone from the family sits with the child at least on a day off, and you have during this time to go out to the movies, shopping, to the hairdresser, or to the gym. That should be a rule. Mom needs rest because the child does not need a cranky fury, but a happy woman. Take solace in the fact that it will pass. The child is growing up quickly. As children grow up quickly, they will begin to walk, talk, and become more interesting and mature. You and your husband need to rethink the way you live so that you can rest. My acquaintances managed to go to Thailand with their 1 to 3-year-old children, live there for a month, and enjoy life. Some people go shopping, visit museums and exhibitions with their baby in a sling. One acquaintance left her baby with her grandmother for a week and went to Turkey to get her nerves in order. Every weekend, her grandmother also takes her daughter to her place so that the acquaintance and her husband can spend time together. You can't turn back the clock, and you can't put your daughter in an orphanage. It may only seem like the best solution in the moment, but it's important to deal with the problem and find a better solution. I remember once I went out to a reception where there were a lot of people and friends of mine. I thought I would have fun, but as a mother, I always make sure to take care of myself during my maternity leave and find time for myself. I even bought a new dress and looked great. However, in the midst of all the fun, I suddenly felt a longing for my son. I immediately flew home, ran in, pressed his warm cheek against mine, kissed him, and gave him my breast to calm him down. Such peace and quiet came over my heart. I always pray to God to give me more patience, wisdom, and calmness to raise my son. Have faith that things will get better. This phase of life will not last forever. And you are not alone in this struggle. Anastasia and Sophia, you are so right about the need for rest and wanting to be with your baby during moments of fun. By the way, sometimes we need to get away from our children and homes for a while to truly understand how much we love them. As a fellow mother, I understand the financial limitations that may prevent us from going on extravagant trips like to Turkey. We may also get tired of visiting museums, galleries, and cinemas with our children, and it's not always feasible to drag them around. They may need to go to places like amusement parks, which can be expensive and exhausting for us as well. So, it often turns out that we end up staying at home, where society may not see us, or we may go out with friends to a cafe, where we think we can relax for a couple of hours, but then it's back to the same routine of taking care of our child. Recently, I realized that I cannot do this alone, and that I need to find a balance between taking care of my child and taking care of myself. I cannot get used to the fact that this is for life. Now I realize that I have never felt so free. They say up to a year in jail, up to 3 years on probation. So we can consider that if I became a mother, I also became an addict. But this drug still brings happiness. Monica, I read and am horrified. You say that you spend all your time on your children and get nothing in return. That's not true. In return, a child brings happiness, and when they hug you, it's an indescribable feeling. Unlike you, I gave birth without a husband, and it was much harder for me physically, financially, and mentally. I gained 36 kilograms during pregnancy, and that didn't make it any easier. But I have never regretted having a baby, even though it was not planned. I was on maternity leave for a year, just 4 walls and nothing more. And now I have a job, and I'm coping with all the difficulties by myself. As a mother, I can't understand you at all, Natalia. It may sound terrible, but I understand you very much. I'm a mother of 3 boys, and I have had similar thoughts. After my first child, whom I gave birth to at 20, I scolded myself with those same words. For about a year, I was haunted by very bad thoughts. But then I let go and became happy with my son. I went to work, and life began to have new colors. We didn't plan for a second son. It just happened. And then again, I fell into a deep depression, wondering what I was thinking. My eldest son is now independent, and I am proud of him. There were moments when my second son annoyed me so much that I lost control and hurt him. But then I cried with him and begged for his forgiveness. He forgave me. He was just a child, and no one was dearer to him than his mother. I learned to cope with my aggression years later. When I had my 3rd child, I honestly wanted him from the bottom of my heart. I just found him and I wanted him. That's all. What I want to say is that I may still have moments of being a crazy mom, but everyone goes through it. I can't imagine life without my children. Without them, imagine life. So, author, be patient. Maybe you have not yet awakened the maternal instinct. You are right, your husband will leave. It only seems to men that women are more important than children. There are men who would do anything for their offspring without hesitation. Do you love your husband? Then you can't help but love the fruit of your joint efforts.